Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining me again today. My name is Kgosi. I'll be filling in for Itumaleng today. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it. But, anyways, let's get started with today's wisdom readings. I just want to quickly say thank you to Kulufelo on Monday and Nomsa also yesterday for their readings. Really enjoyed them. I hope everyone managed to catch them. If not, you can always catch them on YouTube on a later day when you have time. So thank you once again for joining me today. I'm Kgosi, your host, and we'll begin shortly. We just want to say thank you very much, AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, for all these books and all the knowledge that he's given us and what we'll be presenting today. So before I start, I would just like to do an invocation just to clear the ether. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll be continuing with Sri Isopanisad. I will be doing the first text, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, first text or the first chapter. So we can get started. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam Yat Kuncha Jagat Yam Jagat Tena Tyak Tena Bu Gita Magridha Kasya Sweet Danam Isha by the Lord Avasyam control Idam this Sarvam all Yat Kincha whatever Jagatyam within the universe Jagat all that animate or inanimate Tena by him Tyak Tena sets apart quota Bu Bun Bugita you should accept Ma do not greet the endeavor to gain Kasya sweet Kasya sweet of anyone else Danam the wealth. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota. One should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. A purport. Vedic knowledge is infallible because it comes down through the perfect disciplinic succession of spiritual master. Beginning with the Lord himself, since he spoke the first word of Vedic knowledge. The source of this knowledge is transcendental. The words spoken by the Lord are called Apurusaya, which indicates they are not delivered by any mundane person. A living being who lives in the mundane world has 4 defects. He is certain to commit mistakes. He is subject to illusion. He has a propensity to cheat others, and his senses are imperfect. A living being who lives in the mundane world has 4 defects. He is certain to commit mistakes. He is subject to illusion. He has a propensity to cheat others, and his senses are imperfect. No one with these 4 imperfections can deliver perfect knowledge. The Vedas are not produced by such an imperfect creature. Vedic knowledge was originally imparted by the Lord into the heart of Brahma, the first created living being. And Brahma, in his turn, disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples who have handed it down through history. Since the Lord is Purnam, all perfect, there is no possibility of his being subjected to the laws of material nature, which he controls. However, both the living entities and the inanimate objects are controlled by the laws of nature and ultimately by the Lord's potency. The Sri Isopanisad is part of the Yajur Veda, and consequently it contains information concerning the proprietorship of all things existing within the universe. The Lord's proprietorship over everything within the universe is confirmed in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 7, text 4, verse 5, where para and apara, prakriti, are discussed. The elements of nature, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, all belong to the Lord's inferior material energy, apara prakriti, whereas the living being, the organic energy, is his superior energy, para prakriti. Both of these prakritis or energies are emanations from the Lord, and ultimately, he is the controller of everything that exists. There is nothing in the universe that does not belong to either the para or the apara prakriti. Therefore, everything in its propriety, everything is the property of the supreme being. Sorry, because the supreme being, the absolute personality of Godhead, is the complete person. He has complete and perfect intelligence to adjust everything by means of his different potencies. The supreme being is often compared to fire, and everything organic and inorganic is compared to the heat and light of the fire. Just as the fire distributes energy in the form of heat and light, the Lord displays his energy in different ways. He thus remains the ultimate controller, sustainer, and dictator of everything. He is the possessor of all potencies, and knower of everything and the benefactor of everyone. He is full of inconceivable opulence, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, no one is a proprietor of anything. One should accept only those things that are set aside by the Lord as his quota. The cow, for instance, gives milk, but she does not drink the milk. She eats grass and straw, and her milk is designated as food for human beings. Such is the arrangement of the Lord. Thus, we should be satisfied with those things he has kindly set aside for us, and we should always consider to whom those things we possess. And we should always consider to whom those things we possess actually belong. Just a point to mention, especially in the beginning, where Prabhupada really gives us the difference between God and its parts and parcels. The parts and parcels, though coming from the complete whole, have a tendency to be an illusion, make mistakes, cheat others, and have imperfect senses. Thus, with that being said, we should understand that anything that we are doing, anything that we are seeing, anything that we are creating is not in complete knowledge. Because of our imperfect senses, it means that whatever we see or whatever we do, we cannot really 100% know that it is the truth. So, hence, also with the knowledge, if one is trying to approach a perfect being, because sometimes the question might be asked that how does one approach something so vast, something so perfect? If we are limited, how is it that we are able to approach the unlimited? So then the question or the answer Prabhupada gives is that the unlimited makes himself approachable by the limited. And how we are able to do this is by approaching a bona fide spiritual master or approaching the bona fide books such as the Vedanta, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. These books give us direction and they give us a clear explanation of what is God, what is the parts and parcel, and what are the energies. It then becomes up to one ability to accept whether this is true or not. But it is also said that if one submissively inquires and asks question, they say smaranam and kirtanam. By hearing and by giving questions and answers, one is able to gradually begin to understand the perfect whole, to begin to understand God. So it's very important that though we may be full of mistakes, though we may have these four imperfections that Prabhupada has mentioned, by approaching the perfect whole, then we can also become perfect. Actually, Nonsa gave a very good example yesterday that there's a big fire, as Prabhupada has mentioned here, that Krishna is the big fire and that we are the sparks. We can see that if one is actually combined with the fire, then the fire is magnificent, amazing. But as soon as the spark is removed from the fire, immediately the spark becomes useless, insignificant, and that light quickly burns out. So hence also the importance that in order for us to understand the complete whole, we must approach the complete whole, the information that Krishna has given and the information that the spiritual masters have given, such as Srila Prabhupada. So yeah, that was just a little thought before I moved on. Now I have to find where I was again, for example. Yes. For example, carrying on. For example, take for example, our dwelling, which is made out of earth, wood, stone, iron, cement, and so many other material things. If we think in terms of Upanisad, we must know that we cannot produce any of these building materials ourselves. We can simply bring them together and transform them into different shapes by our labor. Our labor our labor cannot claim to be a proprietor of anything just because he has worked hard to manufacture it. In modern society, there is always a great quarrel between the laborers and the capitalists. This quarrel has taken an international shape, and the world is in danger. Men face another, men face one another in anonymity and snarl just like cats and dogs. Sri Supanisad cannot give advice to the cats and dogs, but it can deliver the message of Godhead to man through the bona fide acharyas, holy teachers. The human race should take Vedic wisdom of Sri Supanisad and not quarrel over material possessions. One must be satisfied with whatever privileges are given to him by the mercy of the Lord. There can be no peace if the communist or capitalist or any other party claims proprietorship over the resources of nature, which are entirely the property of the Lord. The capitalists cannot curb the communists simply by political maneuvering, nor can the communists defeat the capitalists simply by fighting for stolen bread. If they do not recognize the proprietorship of the supreme personality of Godhead, all the property they claim to be their own is stolen. Consequently, they will be liable to punishment by the laws of nature. Nuclear bombs are in the hands of both communists and capitalists, and if both do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord, it is certain that these bombs will ultimately ruin both parties. Thus, in order to save themselves and bring peace to the world, both parties must follow instructions of Sri Upanishad. Another point, I hope you guys don't mind. This is actually a very important section because it is a very common thing that parties, whichever political organization, whether it be Democrat, Republican, EFF, ANC, DA, whatever it might be, as communist, capitalist, a democracy, or what's another one? I don't know what they call it when there's only one king, an autocrat. The whole idea, though, is sense enjoyment, and that these things, whatever it might be, these people, this land, all belong to mine, which is a false idea because we all know that when one comes into this world, you come with nothing and you shall also leave with nothing as well. So, hence the importance of Sri Upanishad, the importance of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam to remind the human being because they have sufficient intelligence, as Prabhupada has mentioned, that we cannot explain this information to the cats and dogs. It's a waste of time. But to those who are able to sit down and listen, the human beings, it is very important that they are aware of actually who all of these things belong to. Because to say that this belongs to me or this belongs to mine, it causes great fighting, as we've seen throughout history. We've seen that in previous times, we had the British all over the world trying to influence their way and saying that these types of land belongs to them. And now that is no longer the case. We can see how much of their power has been reduced, and now they are pretty much left to back again to the small island that they have. There might be some arguments as to how far their power reaches, but we can see that nothing is permanent. So similarly, with whatever the ANC might promise the EFF, DA, that they will bring this back, they will give these people land, they will do whatever it might be. In the end, all of us will die and will not be able to take any of this land, our clothes, our greatest possessions with us. But the one thing that we are able to take is the information given to us by Srimad Bhagavatam, by the spiritual masters, by Krishna, that we are parts and parcels of the complete whole. And what to do with this information, that's why we should read more. But it's very important to actually remember who it is all of this belongs to and who it is that we belong to as well. Carrying on. Human beings are not meant to quarrel cats and dogs. Okay. Human beings are not meant to quarrel like cats and dogs. They must be intelligent enough to realize the importance and aim of human life. The Vedic literature is meant for humanity and not for cats and dogs. Cats and dogs can kill another animal for food without incurring sin, But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste buds, he is responsible for breaking the laws of nature. Consequently, he must be punished. The standard of life for human beings cannot be applied to animals. The tiger does not eat rice and wheat or drink cow's milk. Because he has given food in the shape of animal flesh, because he has been given food in the shape of animal flesh. Among many animals and birds, some are vegetarian and others are carnivores, but none of them transgress the laws of nature, which have been ordained by the will of the Lord. Animals, birds, reptiles, and other lower life forms strictly adhere to the laws of nature. Therefore, there is no question of sin for them, nor are the Vedic instructions meant for them. Human life alone is a life of responsibility. This is a very easy thing, or let me not say that. It is not difficult to understand. Just like we have laws in this world that in South Africa is very well known that we must pass right, drive in the left, and pass right. So similarly, we cannot now expect to apply those same laws on animals, or nor do we expect the animals to follow them. It's also a very common thing. We know that animals can pretty much engage in sex life wherever and they will not be punished. But human beings is a well-known thing that they require a house, there's a room, there's a setting. There are all these types of rules which are applied to just engage into sex life. Because as Prabhupada said, we have higher intelligence, so hence stricter rules apply to the human beings. If it is considered that no, well, I'm a human being, I've got free will, and I should decide to live however I want and do whatever I want, then we should understand that that type of life of that we shall do whatever we want without any consequences is comparable to an animal life. Well, the books say that we were just monkeys dressed up in fancy suits then if one is behaving in that way. So it is a very common thing, as we can see in human life. There are many laws. The government has hundreds and thousands of laws that whether we know them or not, if we do not follow, we are still liable for punishment. So similarly, as Prabhupada has mentioned, that there are also laws of nature. One of those laws of nature is that human beings should not eat animals for their own sense gratification. And if we transgress those, then punishment is also liable to us. Just like a criminal who steals, once he enters the courthouse, he is liable for punishment. So it is quite the same, actually. It is wrong, however, to think that simply by becoming a vegetarian, one can avoid transgressing the laws of nature. Vegetables have life, and life, and while it is nature's law that one living being is meant to feed another, for human beings to and while it is nature's law that one living being is meant to feed another, for human beings, the point is to recognize the supreme Lord. Thus, one should not be proud of being a strict vegetarian. Animals do not have developed consciousness by which to recognize the Lord. But a human being is sufficiently intelligent to take lessons from the Vedic literature and thereby know how the laws of nature are working and derive profit out of such knowledge. If a man neglects the instructions of the Vedic literature, his life becomes risky. A human being is therefore required to recognize, the authority of the Supreme Lord and become his devotee. He must offer everything for the Lord's service and partake only of the remnants of food offered to the Lord. This will enable him to discharge his duty properly. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 26, the Lord directly states that he accepts vegetarian food from the hands of a pure devotee. Therefore, a human being should not only become a strict vegetarian, but should also become a devotee of the Lord. Offer the Lord all his food and then partake of such prasadam, or the mercy of God. Only those who act in this way can properly discharge the duties of human life. Those who do not offer their food to the Lord, eating nothing but sin and subject themselves to various types of distress, which are the results of sin. So it's very interesting to note that being a vegetarian is not enough. Sometimes, yeah, it is thought like that actually, that once you're vegetarian or vegan, whatever it might be, um, that sometimes one can become a bit puffed up or arrogant or feel that I'm better. But we've seen that Prabhupada has also mentioned that there are also many birds or animals or species which are also vegetarian. So what takes one further from that is that by when one offers their food to the Lord, in that way we are not only making a relationship with Krishna, we're also acknowledging where the food comes from. That Krishna is the proprietor of everything, and this food that we are offering, actually, we're fortunate that Krishna is allowing us to have this food, and He is also partaking in it, so that we may become purified. So that is also very important to note. The root of sin is deliberate disobedience to the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. Disobeying the laws of nature or the order of the Lord brings ruin to a human being. Conversely, one who is sober, who knows the laws of nature, who is not influenced by unnecessary attachment or aversion, is sure to be recognized by the Lord and thus become eligible to go back to Godhead, back to the eternal home. So, yeah, this text is very nice. I think it's quite clear in that first it gives us a definition or basically the difference between the mundane human being and God. God is perfect in every way, and the human being has defaults. One has a propensity to think that he is this body, he is an illusion, he makes mistakes, he cheats others, and his senses are imperfect. And due to that, we are unable to give proper, perfect knowledge. Actually, Prabhupada in the talk actually even says that there are many people who are writing about God, about this, about science, about how the world is creating. But in those books, they are saying maybe, perhaps, and there he is noting that this is the cheating propensity that we have. That though we know that what we are saying is incomplete or incorrect or just our own thoughts, we still give it out to the masses of people in the name of education. So here we can see that how indeed we do have a propensity to cheat others, even though we know that we do not have illusion. So what to do with this? Prabhupada mentions that one should approach a spiritual master or approach the Vedanta books so that we can receive higher knowledge from the perfect being. So we have a question. Please advise, how can I overcome the defects? That's a good question. So to, I guess, give an answer that Prabhupada is already given, that one can overcome the defects by associating with the devotees, associating with Krishna, by either chanting the names of Krishna, by associating it with the devotees, and hearing and reading the books. By doing this, one will gradually be able to cleanse the heart and clear the heart of any dust and things like that, so that gradually he can come to his position and remember himself and remember his relationship with Krishna. In that, he'll be able to take up many good habits. As one of the good habits is mentioned, is that being a vegetarian, but not only being a vegetarian, actually offering one's food to Krishna before eating it. So that's one of the habits. One of also the rules and regulations that one might pick up should they become interested in Krishna consciousness are the four regulative principles of no meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. So we can see that how gradually, as one listens and hears more and more, they then gain a higher taste, as I said, so that they become less inclined to engage in what they previously might have engaged in, and they become more inclined to engage what they believe is good for themselves, but what also Krishna has prescribed is good for the human being, so that he can then start to slowly remember himself. I'm not too sure about this one, but from what I've heard, is the question asked by Wisdom 8. From what I've heard, but also I think this is will be better elaborated by Savia Sachidas Prabhu on Saturday. Yeah, please catch um, Ask a Monk every Saturday. But from what I've heard about eating meat, it makes one cruel because when the animal is dying, is going through a great immense of pain, and all of that is also transmitted inside the meat and everything. So if one is eating all of that, they're eating all the cruelty that's involved, also making one's heart cold-hearted and hard, which also most likely leaning that the one will also commit acts of violence. And it's also said because we are sending all the animals into the slaughterhouse, the cows, everything, then nature is also making arrangements that human beings shall also fight one another. So yeah, there's a lot of yeah, it's pretty deep. But as I said, I don't think I've done it justice in terms of that answer. But I probably, I mean, Savia Sashitas probably can answer a lot better on Saturday at 7. But yeah, just to round it off, and my last points, as I was saying, that I think it's the book, that chapter actually is really nice in that it's really explained to us the difference between God and the human beings, and also it is explained to us why there are certain laws, what happens if we follow them, and what happens if we don't follow them, who should follow those laws. And as we can see that animals, because they are directly controlled by nature, that it automatically they are already following such laws, and why higher laws are required for human beings, so that because we have higher intelligence and greater facility, we are required to behave in a certain way to get us to a certain platform. I mean, the example can even be used that if a government wants to achieve a certain goal or a specific outcome, they will tell their citizens that, for some time, they need to do one, two, and three. If they want to adhere, if they want to achieve economic success or economic, what they call it, freedom, it might be prescribed that in everyone's home that they take up a culture of saving, of investing, of not spending on luxuries, on cutting down on certain things and looking to acquire additional income. So even in certain mundane things like that, as economic freedom, you can see that there are certain rules that need to be applied. Because if those rules aren't followed, if one squanders any money that they get, that they spend it all on alcohol, drugs, alcohol, whatever it might be, unnecessarily spending, then you'll find that one is unable to invest, unable to save, and unable to get closer to whatever the goals might be. So similarly, also with spiritual life, there are certain rules and regulations that must be followed, which will assist one to get closer to the perfection of life and to get closer to Krishna and get closer to understanding their relationship with Krishna and understanding themselves. But if we don't follow these regulations, if one thinks that no, I should do it on my own, who needs to listen to these things? Then it is also the same that if one goes to school and decides that they shall take up in their own program and not attend lectures and not submit assignments and not do whatever is required of them, of what is expected of them, then they will fail and they will receive negative results. And the same also of spiritual life. If they decide that they shall follow their own dictate and come up with their own method, then they are bound to fail. As we've already been told, we are full of mistakes, we have a propensity to cheat, our senses are imperfect, and we think that we are this body. So we don't have a hope. We have to approach the spiritual master, we have to approach Krishna so that we can get closer to our position as the part and parcel. So thank you very much for listening to today's Wednesday. Yeah, today is Wednesday. Thanks for listening to today's Wednesday Wusa readings. Please do catch us tomorrow for our Sunday. No, not Sunday. Sorry, for our Thursday reading. We're still reading the Krishna book. Many chapters left, so please do catch us. Um, lots of space available for anyone to come and read with us and converse with us. We'd love to hear everyone's different viewpoints. It's really entertaining. And then
There's a wedding tomorrow.
oh, yeah, actually tomorrow we're not available. There is a wedding tomorrow. So actually we're not available. So catch us next week Thursday. Um, yeah, yeah, catch us next week Thursday. But on Friday we do have something. Um, yes, we have an engagement here on Friday. Everyone is welcome to join. Really do appreciate seeing new faces and also the same old faces as well. We appreciate everyone. And I'm meant to be on Friday, but because I'm here today, I guess I've already done my turn. And then Saturday, please do catch Savia Sajid Das Prabhu for his Ask a Monk starting from 7. And then on Sunday Inspiration, from 10 to 11. If there's any time changes, we'll let you know. But please do catch a Sunday Inspiration. It's very informative, very inspirational. and yeah, quite for the inquisitive. Yeah, for the inquisitive, for those who are broad-minded and those who want to know more, those who um, want to know more about themselves, about God, about their relationship with God, and the information that is available. Then yeah, please do catch us. I'm sure you enjoy it. And once again, thank you very much for taking the time to join me and join us today. We really do appreciate it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
The Science of Self-Realization is a great book, and I know everybody suggests that, but my suggestion will come with the added caveat of reading Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. I think the reason those two books matter for me is because we're always searching, right? One of the types of people that Krishna attracts are people who are searching. And for people who are searchers, who search for truth, who search for more, who search for service, who search for a life that's bigger than them, those are the two books that answer that. That's me.